Hello, good evening. Hi there, welcome. I am wearing my headset like a proper streamer, which is a bit weird because we are waiting for someone to join us and I need to be able to hear that, which I hope will work. Hello, Max. Good evening, good morning, good time of day. I have, as we discussed the last time we streamed, I have a very cute Snoosy Floof who had not really planned that I would start talking. And then I also have the shawl that we finished last time we streamed, and we tentatively agreed that it could absolutely do with a lace edge, and I have started that. I think I've done 3 rows of a fairly big. I found some gorgeous Japanese, see, lace patterns, and I thought this would look very, very nice. But it is a time for someone who has not really done all that much crocheting, but where's the fun if we can't challenge ourselves a little bit? Hello, Luxelaire, welcome. At least I have done the interspacing of the sort of centers of the crochet edge, so hopefully I won't have to do too terribly much counting, but we shall see. Hi, sweetie. Did you finally get someone to sit down and provide you with a lap? How is everyone doing this? Need a wash? This fine Thursday. Well, it's evening only for me. For a lot of you, it is morning, so time of day indeed. Are you working on anything fun? Are you having interesting projects lined up? It's been a quiet week. We've been a bit under the weather, so it's nice to sort of get back to things a bit. I always miss it when it is a fairly long time without actually hanging out. You can make so many beautiful things with crochet. It's always very, very impressive, I think, just how detailed some people can get. Solaire says, not too bad, waiting for my tea kettle to boil. And then I can get going on either knitting or patchwork, depending on how I'm feeling. Those are both very solid choices. I must overestimated my own crocheting skill for this one, and maybe a little bit in over my head for something where I'm, trying to communicate with chat at the same time as I'm doing something that I'm not overly familiar with, but we shall see. It's really strange for me to hear the same music that you're listening to, since usually I pop my headset off, but kinda nice as well. There are picos. Of course there are picos. Wouldn't be an interesting without, would it? It's gonna be very slow going for my little shawl, but such is life. guest later was threatening to gang up with some of the viewers that we know are on both channels, so it's been a lot of fun testing out the software to see if we can make it work. I think we made it work. We tested it on Monday, so that is kind of interesting. It's always fun to try something new. Oops, sorry madam, I don't mean to put it on top of your head. You're excited about the lace edge pattern? It looks gorgeous. I thought so too. Oh, I was looking for such a long time and I couldn't really, I don't know, I get really picky about these things. And I just wanted to find something that I loved. And of course, as is so very often the case, I fell in love with something that is a bit outside my skill level. I probably should have gone with something a little bit simpler, but I mean, it even has, I don't know if you know, but it even has, which I think is really nice when you have a triangle shawl, is that it even has a corner. So that makes the counting a little bit challenging, but the fact that it has a corner so that you can make it go nicely around the bottom triangle is just, or like the bottom part of the triangle, just makes me happy in all the right ways. It's just so satisfying that those details are added. Outside your skill level is the best way to level up your skills. That is very true, and I've been enjoying, the progress that I've made outside of the live stream. I'm just a little bit worried that I'll get so into it that I forget to talk, which we are kind of here to hang out, so I should try to do a little bit of both. And Max says, after I finish with the prayer cap for my brother, I may consider making a fingered glove since I haven't done it in a while. Finger gloves are nice. I want to make some of those too. They are so satisfying to make and so comfortable. Like, I would rather go for a fingered glove than a fingerless one, but the fingerless ones are much faster to make. I had hoped to make some of those too because they are very nice. I found a way that we may... I have a little... I don't know what they're called in English, but it's like a chair you're supposed to sit with your knees underneath you, so that you can change between a chair and this sort of kneeling chair, so that you get some variety when you're working. And I figured out that if I prop that... Oh, something happening, darling. Underneath my knees, she doesn't slide off my lap. Provided she actually stays on my lap, because apparently something very interesting is going on off screen. I have been abandoned. Oh well, I guess we shall turn Kat's cam screen into a Kristine's clumsy crocheting screen. If I can even find my own thread. And then we're supposed to be, I think, 2 stitches in from the straight stitches. Oops. Sorry for the crinkly noises of my little pattern. Wouldn't really want to do this one without my pattern because that seems a little bit too ambitious. But I did have the forethought to separate out all the pieces beforehand. So I'm not actually trying to count out where to place the core thingies. I don't know what they're called. The top of the lace bits. I've been wanting one of those chairs. They seem much more comfortable to sit cross-legged in. They are a Luxolair, absolutely. silver shadow. I think it's called a footstool. No, I have a footstool too, which really helps my knees, but this one is like you sit on top of it, and then there's a second cushion underneath where you place your knees, so you get like this like V shape with your knees, and your shins are kind of resting on this second cushion. But yeah, it is Luxolair, I agree. It is much easier to sit cross-legged in, much more comfortable, although I did actually start adding a second cushion when I want to sit cross-legged, because then you get your legs a little bit further up, which is what I like personally. But yeah, we got it for that reason, for like changing up the work. So I have many ways of changing my work position now. I have a regular kitchen chair, which would probably be a better chair than just a regular chair. And I have the kneeling sitting chair. And I have a pad thingy for just standing on. And then Spouse also found a walking pad second hand, which I've been using when I don't want to do a task, like editing when I go from the first clips down to the first edit. I find that to be quite a tedious task, because you have all this raw footage and all of this sort of just garbage before and after you actually do the thing, where you're just starting and stopping the camera and you're doing it 5 times and you only need like 1 or 2. That can be quite a tedious task, I find, and I like using the walking for that, because then I'm a little bit distracted and I do it for longer, which is quite nice. So yeah, I have 4 different ways of working now, which has been surprisingly nice, and I actually use a couple of them throughout the day to help my knees and legs not hurt so much, which is great. Hello, Kelly, welcome. Says you need to go to the pharmacy and hope to join in when I get back, and also need to forage for eggs. That is very exciting. Lots of things to be doing. But yeah, we will be here for approximately 2 hours. We'll see how things go throughout the day, but I mean, usually I try to stream for 2 hours at a time, because that seems to be a good, comfortable point where like people can join and come back and leave and come back. But also it's not so long that I am, completely famished at the end of it. But yeah, on the list of things to get for the office, I'm like, I should probably look for a better working chair. Secondhand, but the office is so full already. I don't really mind the kitchen chair. Be good if we remembered to open our thermos. I even got, in honor of the month of February, I got our little, let's see, it's a Moomin cup, which I understand are actually famous outside of Scandinavia, which I didn't realize, but this was, our friend was cat sitting for us when we were doing our 1-year anniversary. And when we came back, this cute cup and a couple of other gifts was waiting for us when we got back. So this is the one and only Moomin cup in my possession. Chat, am I dumb? Am I actually... No wonder the picture quality was lackluster. I've been trying to use... We are streaming from the laptop camera. That makes me curious. Do I actually have... This is gonna be... Do I actually have the other camera hanging out? No signal, because you forgot to plug it in, you dum-dum. I mean it lovingly, I'm not actually being hateful to myself, but I thought I had everything under control. turns out I still mess up. That is such a cute mug. Yeah, I think so too. I like it. It's very cute. It's the only Moomin cup I own, but it is very cute. Let's see. Give us a moment. I'm just gonna push this one a little bit. I was wondering why the picture was so poor. Let's see. Turns out it's because I forget how to do things and I connect one part of my streaming equipment and not the other. As you can tell, I am a professional. Ah, there's my keyboard. Let's see. There we go. There we are. That's a little more like what I was going for. Hello, my sweet. Are you back? Well, your timing is impeccable because I just had to get up to fix a thing. Hopefully it works now. Let's try that one more time. Hello. Whoa! I'm enormous. This is a great. The tech skills are big with this one. Let's give me just a moment. Wish I knew how to do this without you actually suffering all my tech finagling. There. I think. It's a little bit better. Hi, sweetie. You better not actually be mean to yourself. I mean, fair, we're trying to discourage that kind of behavior, so I try to also not do that to myself. Alexandra says, I believe I had a Moomin storybook when I was little in New Zealand. None of my friends nor my sibling remembers this mystery. Oh, that is very interesting. Yeah, no, we didn't have any. In Norway, they're very popular because I don't know if they still are because I'm not allowed to give blood, but all the blood banks in Norway, they can't give money for donating blood because then you would have a financial incentive and they don't like that for ethical reasons. So they give you gifts instead. And for a very long time, and I think they still do it, Moomin cups were one of the very popular gifts, along with like towels or snacks or well, snacks you get while you're there anyway, but the Moomin cups is the one everyone remembers, and a lot of Norwegian households have many different ones of those. Tech skills are hard? Yeah, they can be. Like, you turn on the camera and you think everything is fine and dandy, then you forget to actually connect it. It's like... and then we can pull this a little bit closer so that I managed to finagle my tripod onto my desk so that it actually moves when I move it. And Blue Iris says, good afternoon. Indeed, good afternoon. Freezing rain outside. Good to be cozily crafting inside. I met the Moomins in translation in French grade school. Oh, interesting. Yeah, we had them in Norwegian too. I couldn't... But I didn't think anything of it because all the children's stuff was in Norwegian anyway, so that is very fun. Let's see if we can finagle this back without bothering little floofster too much. There we go. No, darling. Please don't eat my crochet hook. You do love sticks so much. The motif behind the prayer cap is that my brother is a Muslim. Yeah, that is very nice. Muslims are very nice. I think there's no difference whatever religion people choose to believe in. It's all good. And there's so much tasty food. It's always the way I come back to reconnecting with all sorts of culture, is that I just want to taste all of the things. And people make such delicious food. Just incredible how creative people get with like basically quite similar things, and they just make the most amazing things. Always astounds me. It's like, you thought of making that with that? Wow. So cool. I'm in a sunny window with my cat, with your video on mending my neighbor's jeans for her. I'm in my happy spot. Oh, that sounds really cozy. It is. It has been very mild recently, so we're like in right around 0 degrees centigrade, so right around where water freezes. And it has been cold before that, so this is quite warm and toasty and nice. Wait, that is not the stitch you're using. You're supposed to do... Are they called staffs in English? When you do the long sticks? Treble. Treble staff? I'm good at this. I should be a crochet teacher. No, I learned crochet from a friend of mine. Who learned from her grandmother, so it hasn't been that long, I feel like, since I learned to crochet. But you can do so much with just the basic stitches in various configurations. Stripy Crayon says, I did some cat sitting for some friends of mine, and their cat also loved sticks, so much so that most of my pencil crayons now have little cat tooth marks. Relatable. My only grief with this one is that we know she loves sticks, and it's not generally a problem that she loves sticks. But why, oh why, do you not also love, matabi sticks that are supposed to be, catnip-like sticks that are cat safe and you don't get splinters in your gums from them and are supposed to be nice and good for your teeth to chew on, but those you don't want to chew on at all. Then again, I suppose that sounds right about cat. Anything else is fair game. Single crochet, double crochet, and triple crochet in English, I think, although I know Britain uses a different numbering system than North America. That is fair. Yeah, so triple crochet then is what I forget to do sometimes instead of just doing a regular single crochet. I like that. That is very simple. Just single, double, triple with the same word. Very convenient, very nice. Those sticks are not forbidden. Where's the challenge in that? I suppose that is a fair point, Stripy Crayons, that I don't try to move them away from her when she gets the matabi sticks. If anything, I shove them in front of her face, and then there's nothing challenging about that. No, madam, we just discussed this. You're supposed to do a triple crochet over here. Not just a regular one. Will be not very airy if you don't make sure there's room for the air. I did do all 3 picots in the previous ones, so we are kind of getting... I don't know if it's easy to see this for you on camera, but we are growing a little bit. But as you can see, we have a lot of space in between, so we have many more rows to go before she's done. It's gonna be a very big piece of lace. Like, it's gonna be like one repeat is gonna be this wide. It's quite impressive. Which was something I had not considered when I went digging for patterns, that, you know, when you're doing it in even lace weight wool, it's still gonna be fairly thick compared to thin crochet cotton, so she gonna be a statement. It's a lovely pattern. Yeah, I thought so too. Did I show it? I don't think I've shown it too. Since I saw you pop up. Wait, why are you not going through the right one? Ooh. See if we can have the time to do it before the ads show up. But yeah, I found this from a Japanese pattern books, which Japanese knitting and crochet books are insane. They're so pretty. But oh, look at it. Look at it. It's so pretty. Anyway, our surprise guest is ready, so we're gonna have some ads and then we're gonna have a guest. Let's see if we can finagle the tech work. In a brief moment, let's see. First we turn the music off. There we go. And I might mute this one, just so that she doesn't have to be on air until she feels ready for that. Guest? Yes, Luxolaire, guest! Were talking about this a few streams ago, and we are testing a new format. Let's see how this works. Hello. Let's see if the bandwidth can handle it. This worked well when we were testing it, but of course we weren't actually streaming at the time, which may have impacted our testing capabilities. Loading. I hope this works. We are not hearing anyone yet. Your kitty was about to bat at the screen. I'm watching on, so laser pointed to the rescue. That is very, very true. That's very good. Why are you not working? Are you there? Attempting to send data. We are very good at this. Why not? See, we are trying. If you are back from the ads, we are currently trying to get connection with our guest, and Discord is being a stubborn thing. I had not anticipated this to be so difficult, if I am completely honest. Is there anything else we can try? We are just having so many tech-related finanglings today, aren't we? Sorry about that. Yes, darling. Embla is alone home. It's not a good time. Can we try again? Yes, we can indeed. Why, computer? I would like to join the call. I would very much like to join the call. Tech issues, try it again. They do indeed. And to think that we naively thought that we tested this on Monday and it was working then, and thought I heard a distant cat. You did indeed, Stripy Crayons. Our sweetie is, well, my spouse is not home, so that means we have a very crying baby because she is very lonesome. That is not very good. Camera blocked and microphone blocked. I feel like this is a great start. All right, can I, okay. I am in Riverside instead of in Discord. How can I share? I would like to share a link so that our guest can join us here. Where do I do that? People, maybe. Why? Yeah, but Riverside, why? How do I get into the studio? Sorry about this, everyone. Yeah, there was indeed a distant cat, but let's see. Yes, I would like to see the password for this one. Okay. Come on, we want the guest. I feel like it's been a very long time, but probably hasn't. Okay, where's my studio? I have no idea how this works. I had planned to use Discord. I am using headphones. What kind of tea, hot or cold, does everyone have? Luxelair has a nice peach oolong. Ooh, that sounds delicious. I have a cold mint iced tea. I do also have hot tea in my thermos, but it was a very nice mood to have a cold tea today. Edna has a roasted dandelion tea. Ooh, that sounds very nice. And Venite has just had dinner, so no drink at the moment. Please work. It would be very nice if you could work. Hello. Oh, I can hear you. That is a good start. Can you hear me? So maybe this works better. Oh, how exciting. Let's see if I can make you bigger, because I want you to be the main focus in this screen. We have guest. Let's see. Are you ready? Let's see. Hello. I think they should be able to hear you now if I just largen this one so that they can actually see you. And I haven't seen Lynn or Alex yet in chat, so so when you know that you have fairly small streamers, when they're like, yeah, no, I know a lot of the regulars by name, but everyone, this is Jente from Jente Minvolden, has a very lovely wool enthusiastic chat, and I thought we could hang out a little bit and try chatting together. I was gonna put your channel. Whoops. Okay, I changed to guest layout too soon because there you go. There you're back. There, Jente is back. Because I was supposed to pin. Am I gonna have to show you the studio at the same time? Okay, give me a tiny moment, and I'm just gonna put this one because I wanted to put your channel in the pinned comment so that people can find you should they be curious if they aren't already following you. There we go, now it should be pinned, and now we can go back to you. There. Sound is very soft, but there. Okay, let's see. I can try to turn you up a little bit.
I can also try to talk louder.
That I tried that, and it never works in the long run. It's you remember it for a little while, and then you forget again. 4 decibels, maybe. Let's see. Anyway, how are you today?
I'm fine. I'm working on a pair of mittens for my best friend's birthday.
Ooh, oh, they look like some lovely cables. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
It's a lot of dimension.
I was going for like Lord of the Rings dwarven aesthetic.
I can see that. I can see that, definitely. It's very, very cool.
And I dyed the wool myself. I also spun the wool myself.
Oh, wow.
It was oak gauze and then an iron bath. So.
Oh, cool. It's very nice. Still a bit quiet. Okay, I'll ramp you up to 10 decibels. Surely that is gonna be... But that is very cool. I still haven't dipped my toes in dyeing things, but I am so admiring people who do because it's so cool.
Yeah, I just think... Just go for it. But with your academic background, maybe you want to be more scientific about it, but I just go, well, what will this do?
It's more that we have neighbors and right now we don't have a garden. So I have friends with gardens where it would be more natural, but I feel like it would kind of be a little bit more effort to reach out and be like, because they are absolutely happy for us to borrow the garden, but it's a little bit like it feels like a bother, and it's more spoons to do, isn't it, when you do that?
Yeah, I understand. I understand.
What's that noise? I am not sure. Unless you mean my cat, who is home alone because spouse is out on adventures, and that means that our other cat is very lonely. Someone in chat is like, "What's the noise?" And I'm like, it might just be Embla crying because she's alone. Her human has left her, and there's nobody
Oh
home with
no,
her."
poor baby.
Yeah, it is very sad. She is very, very tied to spouse. Yeah, it was indeed the meowing they were reacting to that they were. But yeah, it is just the cat. I'm afraid I can't control the cat. I can try to give them snacks, but it won't stop the meowing.
It's a feral void, no controlling.
Yeah. I've already shown chat a little bit, but I'm working on a lace edging for my shawl. So I
Oh,
found this. And I am still quite a beginner at crocheting, so I have chosen things far outside my wheelhouse, far outside my skill level, but it is this glorious Japanese pattern that is so detailed and so much, and I love it so much. It's just, oh, I love it.
well, I wouldn't say it's above your level. It's looking really good.
Oh, thank you. But it feels like I maybe, bite off a little bit more than I can chew when I'm trying to talk to you and chat and doing things I'm not familiar with at the same time. Stripey Crayons asks, please tell us more about the oak gold die.
Oh, more about the oak gold die. Spoiling my entire video, but okay.
Well, it's up to you.
Yeah, no problem. Well, oak gall die, I hope if you don't know what oak galls are, they're like kind of tumors on an oak tree actually. It's where a wasp, the gall wasp, lays their egg and then the tree forms some kind of balls, either on the leaves or on the twigs, and they contain a lot of the tannins. You know, everything about an oak tree contains a lot of tannins, but the oak galls especially, it's very concentrated. I just mashed them up with a hammer, literally, uh, put them in water and let it steep for a couple of hours. Not boil, but a low simmer. That turns really brown. You could use it as a mordant or as a dye itself. It's a nice beige brown, but when you add iron to it, this is a very tried and tested dye recipe from, I don't know, the dawn of humanity or maybe a little bit later. It turns like almost black. If you want to try and make black, and you didn't have a black sheep, then tannins plus iron was the recipe.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I don't know if I've talked about this before, but like the Viking black was so hard to dye that Vikings had like what the Icelandic people have two words for black. You have like swarts and you have blod, which is you have the black that is closer to yours, that is like with a brown base. And then you have blood, which is more like the raven black, like a bluish black. And that one was so coveted because it was so difficult to get. You just, so hard, but so cool as well. But yeah, it's so
That's what
interesting with the.
that
Sorry.
boggles me, like when there is a historical movie set in the Middle Ages and everybody is dressed in black and gray. I'm like, oh no, this would have been so difficult.
And
Please
also
put them in
leather, like
yellow.
black leather everywhere.
Yeah, that too.
But yeah. And they're so dark too. Like always the medieval movies are like, oh, they're poor, so they're gonna be dirty and they're gonna wear rags and they're not have like they would
And
have cared for the clothing because it's so valuable and it would have had bright, yeah, as you said, yellows, a lot of like madder and like, yeah, so much color. And I wish we just get one movie at least where they actually
Yeah,
have the color.
that would be amazing. But
Yeah.
people of Hollywood, please start
They,
watching our channels and know about this.
maybe we have to make it ourselves, but I don't have the. I struggle even to edit like small videos because there's so much footage, and I'm like, how much footage would you have if you're trying to do video? Like.
Seriously.
Oh, that's a question. That is I wondering. Like, how much footage do you usually have when you do a crafty video? I usually
Oh,
end up with like 4 hours, and it's so much, and then it's like this tiny 15-minute video at the end, and I'm like, why do you overshoot so much?
I I've never counted the total amount of hours that I have of footage, but I know I can have like 7 to 8 minutes in one shot and then use like 7 to 8 seconds.
I know. It's so it like, and but then I'm also afraid that I won't have it if I don't shoot enough. Like, what if I need to film myself sewing the same stitch 4 times so at least I have one of them is good, and then you end up having so much footage.
Yeah, exactly.
Edna says that they had no idea, which is, yeah, it's dyeing and color history is so cool. And I was reading the history of colors, but that was more like the pigments for painting. Which I want to do one that is like find a book that does the same thing but for dyes because it's so interesting how much have been shaped by dyes and things. Where's my stitch? More comments from Stripy Crayons. They wonder if the Hollywood color problem is similar to the Tiffany problem, which Tiffany is actually an ancient name, but it sounds too modern to use in fantasy and fiction. I have heard that problem too, and that is not unlikely to be the case.
Yeah, Theophanu actually.
Hmm?
Theophanu? That's like the Greek origin
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah. It's a
Tiffany.
really super old name.
Like wasn't she a Byzantine queen or something? Theophanu? I think she was.
Yeah. And I wonder if it is that people associate it with modern name or if they think of like Tiffany's, like the business, or like what the reason for that disconnect is. That they just can't seem to have historical person named Tiffany, which is so interesting.
Maybe also because it ends with a Y. And there is a certain
Ah,
stigma on certain names with a Y, like Brittany.
Bethany too? Like,
I don't
huh.
know, but Brittany was the one that came into my mind, and Kimberly, those names
Oh,
are
interesting. I had
sometimes
not thought of
seen
that.
as like more lower class names.
Oh, really?
At least in
Huh.
Belgium they are.
Oh, okay. That is interesting. Yeah, I don't. In Norway, at least my experience is that it's more regional. Like we have very different names in terms of north and south. But I don't know if we have a very big. I guess there's some difference between wealthier people's names, but I don't really know them. But yeah, it goes into so many things like when movies actually try to show something that is accurate and the audience just reacts negatively, like, oh no, but that they couldn't do that because they were too uncivilized or whatever. And it's like, no, but we have archaeological evidence that they did these things. Why?
Yeah, prevalent thought of thinking that people before us were not as smart as us.
Yeah, yeah,
Where do
no.
they get that?
Yeah, it is such a hard thing to beat as well. That whole stigma of, yeah, but we are more developed now, we are more advanced. And it's like, yeah, but you can do reasoning in your head, and so could they, just in different. Like they would have different bases to reason from, with different knowledge bases, but their skill of reasoning is still the same.
I would sometimes argue even better because we're so dependent on machines that do the thinking for us now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if you heard, but there was this a radio show that talked about a farmer that, or like, there was prosecution in, I don't, they needed to get over the Alps. I think it was in Spain during the Spanish Inquisition. They needed to get over the Alps because it was a form of Christianity that was being persecuted. Um, and they had like there was a spy for the Spanish church with them, and there was a priest, and there was some other people like coming in this 4 or 5 people that together were spending I think at least a week getting over the Alps on foot, and then they got caught by the Inquisition and were questioned, and their accounts of what they had talked about during this multiple day walk over the Alps was so accurate because they were questioning all of them, and when they wrote it down you could cross-reference in the written record that how they remembered all the conversation was almost completely accurate, and I was like, I could never.
I, my historian brain is tingling. Are you talking about the book Montaillou by Emmanuel Leroy-Ladurie?
I very well maybe. It was a story on the radio, so I don't have the details. But like you are more close to that than I am, so that's not unlikely.
So that's a book. So Montaillou is a book about the story about the village of Montaillou in the French Pyrenees. That was a Cathar village. But of course, there were a lot of shepherds, so they did the transhumance over the Pyrenees. And indeed, the entire book is written by the historian Emmanuel Leroy-Ladurie from the Inquisition records, from exactly as you said, the interviews, the Inquisition that they took of the people. And there were so many, like he could recreate the entire history of that town just by the Inquisition records.
My mind was just blown. I was like, I could never remember in such detail the conversations that I'm having. I was just completely mind boggled.
But if ever you want a good read on a 14th century economic and social history, Montaillou.
It's so cool that you can get so much detail from the records, and we know that they're accurate because of the cross-referencing that they are doing.
Mm-hmm.
So impressive. And there was like some research that I saw that talked about how when people are illiterate, they have more space in their brain for remembering conversations because they have to. They have no other way of preserving the knowledge. But when you add literacy through the mix, like you say, just like we are depending on technology today, people started depending on the written word to remember things for them. So they kind of, you put writing in like something has to give in terms of how much we can carry in our noggin at any one time, which makes sense.
Yeah, maybe also the reflex of it's written down. I don't actually need to remember it now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's on the pyramid now. There, I can reference the hieroglyphs.
Every time I go to the pyramids. And yeah.
Yeah.
The Qatar Inquisition was as much about land and power as it was about religion, and maybe more, comments Venit makes things. But yeah, I mean, most war and things are generally more about power and religion as a tool rather than anything else. That is
Exactly.
that is history repeating itself very much so. Are you going to be all the way up there like a gargoyle? Yeah, okay. The second child has joined us. We are not so... Oh. Let's see if I can... Since Madam left us, I can grab this little camera over here. Oops, sorry. And I could conceivably show you this ceiling cat. Is it upside down? Maybe it's easier if I do like this. There she is. She is all the way at the top of my cupboard. Because I made her a staircase in the shelves. She likes that spot. It has textiles and it's very soft and snug. And Luxley commenting back with the that is so impressive. It reminds me of Dracula and all the characters remember conversations word for word, which I thought was so impressive. Definitely a skill I want. Yeah, I do not have anything close to such a skill. That would be... I would have to give up a lot of space for other things, I think, to be able to gain such a skill. I have to put even like, if I'm writing anything down, I will put like notes for things I need to remember, like top and bottom of the document, so I can just go back and be like, aha, that was the name for the technique in the thing.
I sometimes suspect my brain to be able to do this, like remember conversation word to word, but only from conversations that, it's weird if I'm going to say it like that, but aren't worth remembering. Like no valuable information has been said, but I know the conversation.
But isn't that the case though? You remember this like obscure facts about things that don't actually have relevance. Like a lot of my friends, like they remember movie trivia, game trivia, and they're like, yeah, but do I remember to pick up both milk and bread from the store? No, I do not.
Exactly like that.
Yeah. I don't know, memories are weird. And then I just feel like I remember less and less, like from further back, like childhood and everything. It just gets more and more like, no, that was long ago, so there's no need to remember all of that. Are you okay? Oh yeah, we just got ads, and I forgot to talk about it because I was busy talking to Yenta, which is
I'm sorry. You can blame it all on me.
it's more that I'm distractible and I'm very professional. I'm a professional, can't you see? I do this all the time. We've had so many tech issues today, even before you joined, even before we spent, what was it, 10 minutes trying to figure out how to actually get your voice and picture on screen because Discord didn't work like we had tested.
It's always one thing you cannot test, and that's the thing that will go wrong.
Mm-hmm. And before that, I had turned on my camera and had like everything set up, and I'd forgotten to plug it in, so I was streaming from the webcam for half an hour and didn't realize. It
That
is what it
works.
is. Good thing chat is like quite patient with random tech shenanigans. Luxor loves your vest because it's so cheerful. That was the like granny square vest that you made, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's very cool.
With
I
my
love happy clothing.
chaos yarn.
Yes. But it's such a good like we need more whimsy. I mean, have you seen like the statistics that like I think they've used like satellite images because that would make sense. But like scientists have like observed how our world has changed, and people just been like, nah, we're just gonna paint all our houses white and gray, and our cars are gonna be gray, and our clothing is gonna be gray, and like they have statistics that show that like people are choosing less and less color. The color use is going down, and I'm like, that's so sad. Why not be joyful and whimsical and use all the colors?
I haven't seen that statistic, but now that you're talking about it, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, you do see it all around. Millennial gray, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a millennial without gray.
Yes, we will do all the whimsy and all the colors, except that
Yes.
this is white. But at least it's dyeable.
Well,
But it
this is
is using
gray.
my stash. But it's plant dyed. But I mean, it
Yeah.
is using my stash, which is kind of my goal. Because I have so much in my stash that I'm like, I want to use it so that things can actually fit in all the cupboards before I try to get anything new. What is my favorite non-binding stitch? I don't really have a favorite. I think they're all good. I like Mummin because it's twisted, but I don't really have. No, it's Telemark, sorry. Telemark stitch because it's twisty and flat, but I don't know. Do you have a favorite null binding stitch? Do you?
Oh, I don't. I have, well, I've tried to null bind once. And that
Yeah.
was because we were at a Renaissance festival, and the woman that was null binding said, "Well, it takes you a month to learn this," and my husband was like, "I give you a week." I think it was Oslo Stitch.
Yeah, it's a very good
Yeah.
starter stitch. I did the cheating way where none of us knew how to null bind, and I was living with a friend of mine where I was doing my undergrad, and I went home for the holidays, and she spent the entirety of that holiday watching YouTube videos on it and struggling with it and figuring it out how to do it. So when I came back again, she could just teach me. It feels like the quick fix to it. But yeah, we also
But
started with
also,
Oslo Stitch.
but it's also like the historical fix. Like people back in the days wouldn't learn from YouTube; they would learn from each other.
Yeah, this is very true. And they are so warm, the Finnish garments. Like you think crochet uses a lot of yarn, but null binding really uses a lot of yarn. More comments on gargoyle kitties. And that they have 3 kitties that take turn on the top shelving. I'm glad our two are not actually fighting on high. They keep the fighting on the ground level, and I think that is reasonable. Did they have any idea about why it might be getting less colorful? Um, I think it's just like that. It's like they were talking about people focusing on like resale value and that things should be like safe so that it's easy to like less personality, which again I just love that you have personality. Like I see, look at the wallpaper and the behind you, I'm like, yes, colors, get fun things. Because it's so sad that people are like, yeah, I'm gonna live in this white box and paint all the walls white so it's easy to sell it. And I'm like, but you are also gonna live there. Like, I don't know. These things are difficult.
When you're renting a house, sometimes it's mandatory to keep them white.
Oh yeah, yeah. When you're renting, you don't have a choice, and then it's like
Yeah.
landlord special all the way.
Yep.
Which is like kind of why it feels like such a treat to be allowed to not only paint the walls if you want to, but also put holes in the walls, hang up things in the wall, not just put in like what I'm used to putting like tables and cupboards and things on the floor, and then sort of stack things in the on top of the things to try to get some height. Which can look very strange, but you just kind of get used to it. In our student housings, we were also allowed to hang nails from like the molding in on the under the ceiling, like the planks between the ceilings and the walls. You could like put a nail there and hang a fishing line to get your picture in the middle of the wall. We're getting many. Catpaw says, hello, I'm late, but bonus Yente. Yes, indeed, bonus Yente. We are having a guest. We are.
Surprise!
And we are very good about this whole technology thing.
But now that you have kind of figured it out, next time it will go smoothly.
I hope so. If anyone wants to come be a guest on my show, it's weird, but like, be like, nah, I saw how it went the first time. All the tech just fell apart. Take this away. There we go. Let's see, there is so much that I can't really read all of it in one speed. A history of sock knitting, where you can tell where people learn from each other and where they learn by taking apart socks that were traded to them. Oh. So like in how they do the heel and such, I suppose, that you could tell how they learned. Isn't there also that story about like young women following sailors, I think on the Fair Isles or something, to not to flirt with them, but to like, you have a new sweater pattern, I want your pattern, I'm going to follow you and knit the pattern until I have a swatch, and then yeah, you can just go on with your day. Like, But I want the
Off you go.
pattern. I want the newness of a new pattern so I can impress everyone else when I'm making like new sweaters for you. I mean, priorities.
I saw a short video, I think this week, about how the Dutch fishermen's sweaters started out like copying the Fair Isle and the Scottish ones, but then starting to invent their own patterns, so you could, in the end, see which one was Dutch and which one wasn't. That was cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. There's so much, like, history travels so much more than we think. Like, there is the theory that there's a Norwegian pattern that is like an 8-armed rose. It's called the Selby rose. And there's a theory that before it became a very Norwegian thing, like, because it looks similar to silks that you import from China with their patternology, that it might have been because we know that Vikings had silk imported from China to decorate their clothing. So they might have had trade so far back that they could have been inspired by that, similar to how people are like, yeah, Cinderella might have been from foot binding in China. It's just, there is so much more travel than people think, because everyone's always like, oh, this isolated fisher village, like they never see anyone new. And it's like, no, you had tradesmen and sailors, and like, maybe not as often as we are used to, but people still got around. Someone is loving the knitting swatch stalking, and we might have inspired someone. Maybe we suddenly find people running after. We have invented a new form of stalking. Uh-oh.
Newsflash. Crazy lady stalks fishermen for their sweaters.
Then again, of course, we just have the phone in this day and age, but it was a fun mental image. And Luxelair too. The number of times I've had to restrain myself from staring at strangers' sweaters until I figure out the pattern is too many times. Yeah. But sometimes you also have the opposite. Like, I have a friend who, like, they make a business out of people on Facebook posting photos of like grandma's mittens and like, does anyone have the pattern on this? And they're like, I don't, but I can just plot it out and here you go.
That's next level skill.
They just get some graph paper and draw the pattern. Like, it's not too bad for mittens, but
Yeah, for mittens. Like I was doing
yeah.
a really big piece all over cables that had no chart, and I was
Oh no.
complaining in my patron Discord chat, like, "Oh my god, it has no chart! I'm going crazy!" And they're like, "You can just chart it out yourself," and I'm like, "No."
Yeah, this is purely for color work, because for color work it's just binary, like color, not color. But for cables or lace, it's just not the same at all. I once had like, there is this very cute pattern of these like sets of leaves that are very cute, but I wanted the leaves to go the other way because they grow from sort of the leaf and then they become the stem. And it's like, for me, they grow the wrong way. They grow down, not up. And I wanted to twist it, turn it around, and I just couldn't. I tried so many times and it was just absolutely refusing to turn around. It was I had to give up. It's like, nope, this is not going to work. You just have to accept that the pattern goes this way, not the other way.
Just accept it.
I don't want to.
Aww.
More commiserations that when they stare at people on public transport, it's usually their knits. I don't want your money, I just want your cable pattern.
Oh, but the best way of doing that or having that on public transport is like staring at someone and they're staring back and you're like, is that a Sophie scarf? Yeah. Is that this pattern? And then, oh, both knitters.
Yes. The best is I've had, since I have a needle-bound hat, you will get the like 50, 60 plus ladies who have been in crafters guilds their whole lives and they feel like they know a lot about crafting, but it's mostly like the more modern, like crocheting and knitting and maybe weaving and things like that. And they'll look at your hat and be like, what is that? It's always good conversations, but they're always like, but why don't I understand how it works? It's sideways. What? They're very sweet. It's always a lot of fun.
And also the obligatory, oh, it's nice to see young people craft again.
We don't get that a lot in Norway because knitting is still very popular. Is that very much a thing in where you're from?
More. I mean, it's becoming, people are calling it almost like a trend to start knitting again. But when I was younger, like teenage, early 20s, it was not a thing. Like if you were a knitter or did any kind of crafts in public, you were kind of weird.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That is
like
interesting.
not such a big crafting community when I was like in my teens or 20s, but now it's starting to grow.
Oh,
Like in
wow.
my city where I live, there have been two knitting groups that started in this last year, in the same year. So
Cool. Yeah, no, knitting had a boom when I was a student, especially. Like, people would be knitting in class to the professor's chagrin. Like, why are you not paying attention? And they had to do the whole, no, no, but this is actually helping me focus because I'm stimming with my hands. And they were like, but it feels like you're not paying attention. And we had, like, I had a group of students who I was studying with. We would go home and we would, like, study half the evening and then we would craft the rest of the evening. Do recommend.
yeah, that sounds nice.
A visitor? Yes, Kelly. We have Jente here from Minwolden, and we have linked to their channel in the pinned comment if you want to check them out. We have. Do recommend people checking out her very whimsical, very fun videos, and very local wool. It's always very good. Always a good time.
Yeah, local
Yes.
wool is always a good time.
Yeah, and also your channel is always a good time because you're probably not going to advertise it yourself, so I have to do it for you, and you have to sit there all awkwardly and be like, I hate it when people do that. At least that is in my head.
Oh yeah. Oh, and I hate having to sell myself. That's yeah,
The worst
the
is when
worst.
spouse or my friends, or like usually it's spouse at like events or something, and they are starting to talk to an acquaintance or a friend about my work and my channel, and I'm like, can you not do that while I am standing right next to you? Like, what you do in your own time is your own thing, but like, can you not do it so I have to listen to it? Yeah, selling yourself is not easy. But it's always easier to sell other people, which you see in the Discord too. Like, I just had to close it down because it was making noise, and I was like, whoops, it's not supposed to do that. That, when people are doing self advertisements, they get a few likes, and it's nice, but when people are like, oh, I found this video by this other person, like, they will get so many likes, and it's just like this interesting psychology, like when people are recommending something that someone else is doing. And I remember listening to a podcast about this too, that it's more efficient, like to recommend someone else and then they recommend you back because it feels more genuine than when you're sitting there going, please check out my thing I made and stuff.
Mom, I made the thing.
Yeah. The mortification of being known, indeed. And isn't that ironic when you're like, here we are making videos where we have to film ourselves doing things, and yet I'm like, I hate being perceived.
Yeah, please don't perceive me, but please perceive me here.
There's a reason so many of my shots are, my hands and what I'm doing and my cats and out the window. Don't you think trade was the hub of towns and villages, like the rendezvous? They gather for conversation, trade ideas, and other goods. Yeah, I would think so. And at least, especially in Norway, I'm not sure how this is, but they would have traveling merchants to come through, and they would bring like interesting stuff, and they would always want to buy it. But like, and then they would travel on with like having bought some stuff from the village, and they would like. There's a lot of like cobblers and merchants and farriers. A lot of those crafts, like sometimes there was a big enough town that they could have their job in the single town, But for some crafts, you would move around because there wasn't enough work for you in a single small town. And we still have that in Norway, where in north of Norway, there is a tradition for traveling sewing machine repairmen. Because again, there are only so many sewing machines in a small town, so they would travel and they would bring their sewing machines and they would repair them and they would travel on, and they still do it like that because there's no city that is big enough that it can support a whole sewing machine repair shop.
That's interesting. I mean, yeah, probably we also had a lot of traveling merchants. That is why our cities are mostly built on waterways or on big, like crossroads between big roads. Um, but we also had cities that became big because of the specific kind of trade that they had, um, especially textiles in Flanders. Like we had Ypres, uh, these all those kinds of places that like have a lagerhalle that was specifically like the place where all the cloth was sold, and that's how the villages became big cities and fancy cities.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see. Like I'm reading a book right now where there was this city in the U.S. that used to have like a fairly simple name. I can't remember, but they were like, we are going to become the city for leather gloves. So we are going to rename ourselves Gloversville. And it did, it worked. They were responsible from like the 1880s to like the 1930s, 1940s for 90 to 95% of the leather gloves that were being bought in the US. So they were very successful. It's very interesting when they just be like, okay, I'm just going to go for like this industry. I'm just going to dominate this industry.
Contrary to us, they were good at selling themselves.
That is a good point. Piano tuners also travel like that. That makes sense because again, there are only so many pianos in a city, especially back in the days when that was something for only the wealthiest of people in the city. And there's a long history of cities and town being abandoned with trade dried up. Yes, we're struggling with that at the moment since like the fishing, there is less fish in the ocean, so a lot of the small villages along the coasts are struggling because they just don't get enough fish, and without it, it's like, well, what else are we going to do? A little bit of tourism, but there's limited to if you're very far away from, public transport or driving in general, it can be hard to market yourself to people who are like, yeah, but how do I get there? 3, not 4.
I'm going to grab a beverage for a second.
Yes. Branding, in terms of and Kelly Bryson talking about branding. Yeah, I mean it's very efficient too. It usually works well, but ooh, what are you drinking? Oops, too early. What are you drinking today?
Water.
Good choice, solid choice. I too am a fan of this, except mine has also green tea in it. Are a fan of the good hydration break. Beverages are important? Yes. It's usually nice. Usually I remember to hydrate because I hydrate during the ad breaks, but everything is different when I have a guest. So I'm like, well, how do I do things again? How internet?
How internet. How drink.
where all habits went. Poof. Stripey Crayons is trying to endear themselves to us by going, they promise not to perceive you, but to perceive the things you make. Solid. I like that. It's
That's
one
what
of the
we want.
reasons. Yeah, exactly. It's one of the reasons that I once talked about how, like, if people comment on my body, I never respond to the comment. And people were like, yeah, but what if I comment on the things you made? I'm like, well, the video is about the thing I made, so you can comment on that all you want. If the fit is nice or the colors work well, or that is completely fine. But the moment you comment on anything about my body, positive or negative, I'm like, I'm just going to ignore you. You can go over there. And that works very well, because then I don't have to think about how do I address this. I'm like, no, we're just not gonna, we're not gonna be perceived at all. Stick to the things I make.
Yeah.
And I mean, most of the commenters do that. It's usually the drive-by comments that are used to doing things like that.
Yeah, I think the inner circle, our community of fiber artists themselves, they are super wholesome and they will never comment on something that makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I mean, they're so excited about the craft anyway, especially if you
Yeah.
show them something new. Like once when I made, I mean, it's similar to what I'm doing now, that I have a knitted thing and I'm finishing it with the crochet edge. Because, and they had been scrutinizing the thumbnail of a cowl that I made that was similar, like it was knitted, but then it had a very simple scallop edge on the bottom. And they were like, I was wondering how you did that, how you could do that with knitting. And then towards the end of the video, finally, it was just crochet. And I was like, yes, you can combine techniques. And for them, that was like, aha, I'm going to do this everywhere now. Which I love, because I love combining techniques. It's super, like, it's so much fun because you open up so many new possibilities when you do that you, like, why
Yeah.
not?
And you can fine tune it to your own aesthetic. Like I made the granny square vest, so granny squares, of course, crochet, but I don't like crochet ribbing, so I made the ribbing with knitting.
Yeah, exactly. So why not? Why not make it something that you actually want to use and like to wear? It's very much. And sometimes it's also just convenience. Like I was considering doing a um, knitted lace, but I was kind of, but then I have to like knit back and forth and up and down, and it seems so much harder than just to grab my crochet hook and just go back and forth like wee.
It's true.
Sometimes it's just yeah, but this was easier. Yeah, Stripey Crayon's coming in with more again. If I compliment a stranger, I always pick something that they chose rather than something that's part of them, which is, I think, a very good rule of thumb, is to pick something they can actually control.
And when it's to someone like us, we can mostly answer with, "Oh, thank you, I made it myself."
Yes. Would you like to join our cult of make all the things yourself because it's more fun that way? We have cozy wool sweaters and cozy beverages. I mean, if you're gonna make a cult, at least make a nice one.
Yeah.
Is this the first or the second mitten that you are working on at the moment?
Well, the third.
Oh, I was gonna ask if you were the kind of person who like knits them both at the same time, because I have a friend who does that to avoid the second mitten
No,
syndrome.
no, no, I don't have second mitten syndrome because I have a deadline for this. But
Mm.
I started them and I had misread my chart. It was a US size 4 needles that I needed to use, and I had picked a chart and had taken UK size 4. So
Oh
when I
no!
finished like 1.5 mitten, I was like, something is not right.
Oh no! That is so confusing. All the different needle sizes and everything.
So technically, this is the third then. But now I know the pattern by heart, and I can knit on this while talking to you without any problems. There we go.
That
We
is a
have
good point.
cast up.
Oh wow,
Now I
it's so
just need to do the
cool.
thumb over here.
Yeah, but that's quick once you get all the stitches back on the
Yeah.
needle. Yeah, I used to do the thing where I would always like work on the first. If I was doing socks or mittens or anything for a video, I would work on the first one so I could figure out the pattern and then I would film the second one. But I'm thinking that maybe I should change that because then the viewer thinks that I just magically know what I'm doing. But I'm like, no, no, no. You don't understand how much I was finagling this when I made the first of the two. So I was thinking like, maybe I should actually show them from the start so that they actually see that no, there's nothing magical about my crafting skills. I just showed you the second mitten rather than the first one.
Smart. I always film the first. And then
Oh,
I'm like, here's the
really?
second.
Yeah, no, I usually film the second because then I'm like working on the other one in the evening while I'm editing the video that goes before. That's my like not having to film while I'm editing project.
Yeah, I think I have kind of the same thought process, but do it the other way around. Like, I can film
Yeah,
it, and then I have most of the footage, and then I can just speed through the second one, get it done, so that I can get the video done.
I very much hear that, and it's like I already showed you once, so now we're just gonna be like, and then we have a second one.
Yeah,
Ta-da! We are about to have ads again. Have we really been talking for an hour already? We have.
approximately, yes.
How? How is time?
Time is not.
Time is a construct. Is this the right?
I can tell you that I have a Dreft ad. That is fairy, I think, in English.
What did you say? A draft?
Dreft, that's the soap.
Oh, okay.
The dish of soap.
I was wondering if it was. Yeah, I don't see the ads. I just see that they're inserted. But one thing I wish I could see, but I know I can't because it depends on the person if they get like one ad or more ads, is how long do they last?
Well, I just had 10 seconds or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, because I just get ads inserted and I'm like, okay, how long are we pausing for? And then I'm like, I think we're back now. Hello. Ads are our cue to hydrate. They are indeed. Very good to remind me, Kelly, even though we just hydrated. Catboy is agreeing with you that doing ribbing with crochet takes forever and is so fragile, which I have no experience with, so I wouldn't know, but I will trust them with their.
I don't know if that is necessarily why I don't like it. I just don't like it aesthetically.
Yeah, that is fair. A strict barbell, if I can read that right, being very cute, saying that YouTube being live was just the last kick of motivation I needed to build my loom that I got yesterday. Ooh, that sounds very exciting. Love me a good loom. Good luck with the building. They always look so intimidated when they're in pieces, especially the big ones. They're like, how? Is this supposed to become a thing that I can use?
And then the next step, how do I use this?
How do I actually put the. We always. I don't know if you say this as well, but we always used to say that. Well, gosh, what is the word again? When you set up the loom, the weaving, and pull everything through the shafts, and you set up the what? The weft?
The warp.
The warp, thank you.
The warp.
Yes. But like setting up the warp is the work and then weaving is the reward because setting up the warp can be such a big job, especially if you're weaving actual textile with and you're doing like herringbone or diamond twill or any of the more advanced projects. They're like, yeah, no, setting it up is the work and then weaving is the reward you get at the end.
Oh, exactly. I have kind of smallish 4-shaft table loom, but I always like procrastinate doing projects on it because I don't like warping it.
Yeah. I don't know if I am I was very upset at the time because it was so sad what happened to it. But we found someone on like the Norwegian equivalent to like Craigslist or like where people advertise their stuff for secondhand and stuff. And someone was giving away their 18 shaft loom that they had been using to develop furniture, fabrics, and things like that. Like they used it for development of patterns and for teaching people how to weave. So it was specifically made for them because they were a working weaver. And by the time spouse saw the ad and sent it to me and we messaged on it, they were like, no, sorry, we have already moved from our house to the apartment, so we had to drive it to the ditch. And I was like, no, at least it could have gone to someone.
Oh,
My heart, the
yeah,
poor loom. I was like, even if it didn't go to me, because I don't know how to use such a massive thing, but at least it should have gone to someone. It
that's
made me so
hard.
sad. Yeah, I was so
Oh,
sad. Like, at least just tell me that someone else got it. Like, And so they luckily just had to add the legs. And now I'm thinking about dressing the loom. I think I will need more information about that. Yeah, I'd never had actually a big loom because I was a student. I always had the tiny looms, like the inkle looms and the tape tablet weaving. Like they were both backstraps, so they were very tiny and could be compacted. So I don't actually have a proper four shaft like a table loom or a big sized loom because I mean Norwegian looms that they give away for free are the size of a double bed, and like who has space for a random extra double bed lying around? And they are the ones you get for free. Like the Ashford, the small looms, they are still fairly costly, so I haven't really been able to save up for that.
my first loom was a rigid head loom, but like one that was in the 70s or something, made as a kid's toy. It's a perfectly working rigid head loom,
Yeah.
but it's a kid's toy in fact, and I think it cost me 9 euros.
Oh, that is very affordable.
Yeah,
Yeah, I bought my rigid headless new, so I think like the two headless that I have alone, like each of them is more expensive than €9, which is
I only have
fantastic.
one heddle and no option to have a second, so
I have two, and I wanted to make, I mean, spoiler, but I wanted to do a video on how to do herringbone and diamond twill on rigid heddle because you can if you're lucky with your heddles. And I was lucky with my heddles, so when I heard about it and I tried it with my two heddles, I was like, oh, it works. But I can tell that it only works because the holes in my heddle were tall enough that I could see the shaft on the back through sort of the first one as well, so I could pull it through. But that wouldn't have worked if it was a very narrow slits. But yes, you can do diamond twill and herringbone on ankle loom
and is it then with or without pickup sticks?
without pickup sticks.
Ah,
Yeah, you can do
interesting.
it just because you have two shafts in the front heddle and you have two shafts in the back, like up and down. It's actually possible. Although I can't weave anything wider than, leg wraps. Luxlair is asking which ditch and time for a road trip. I wish. It was some time ago, so I'm pretty sure it has been. It is past the point of saving, but oh, that was upsetting. I had one of those too. I don't know what happened to it. I never saw it when we cleared out Mother's house. Oh, sometimes things just vanish, don't they? It just be like that. But I didn't realize until Evie talked about it that it's very Norwegian to have looms the size of double beds. How big are old traditional looms where you're from?
Well, I don't know. I went to the Flex Museum in Belgium, in Kortrijk, a couple of months ago, and yeah, it was quite double bed sized.
Yeah, I mean, industrial looms are huge. That's fair,
Yeah,
but but Evie commented that like, yeah, Norwegian looms are big, and I was like, they are. And then someone posted a picture of a spinning wheel, and Evie was like, yeah, I can tell it's a Scandinavian spinning wheel, and I'm like, What do spinning wheels usually look like? It's the only spinning wheel I know.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty used to like Dutch spinning wheels because I don't know if they are different from Belgian because most spinning wheels that I have are Dutch, and they are more compact. Yeah,
Ah, interesting. Because
a
of course
lot
the
of
modern.
castle style wheels.
Yeah, I hadn't seen the symmetrical ones until Evie showed me one, and I was like, "Whoa, it's so different." Like the ones that
Wait,
have
symmetrical ones.
like a wheel in the middle, and then you have like a foot pedal on either side.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and of course the electrical ones are so cute because they're so compact. I think they're super adorable and super accessible if you aren't able to use the foot pedals.
Also, spoiler alert for my video next Wednesday, I have bought a Hatbox wheel, which is a wheel
Oh,
that is like this tall. It's 40 centimeters tall, and it fits in a in a lid.
in a hat box.
Yeah, it's a hat box. You can put a lid on it, and then you have a hat box.
Oh my goodness, that's so cute.
Yeah, it's the cutest thing.
I only thought like spindles were that size. To have a wheel, a functioning wheel at that size is super cool.
There are a couple of those wheels. Like I know there's also an American brand, I think, or English brand that makes. They're direct drive wheels, so you have the flyer directly against your drive wheel and no drive band mechanism.
Ah,
So the wheel is
yeah.
actually perpendicular to you, not
Of
facing
course,
you.
then yeah, then it would be smaller by default because you don't have as many parts. That makes
Yeah.
sense. It's cool. But then you have the Egyptians who just roll it on their thigh, and it's like we can't find evidence of you spinning because you didn't leave any. How did you spin this thread?
It's a secret. We
Yeah.
buried it with our pharaohs.
You are exciting chat with the Hatbox Wheel. Yes, so you have to go follow on her channels. Go subscribe so you can see when that video comes out next Wednesday. It was supernatural. I'm very good at this.
Yeah. And for those that want to know the actual name of a hatbox wheel, it's actually a Louet S40.
Oh, okay. I thought it was actually called like as a nickname, the Hatbox Wheel.
Yeah, it's a nickname. It's the nickname. It's not the official name. So the official name is a
Ah,
Louet S40. Louet being the
cool.
Dutch wheel maker's brand.
Okay, yeah. Very, very cool. Look forward to that. Jinx Leo says that their dad built looms for him and them to loom on, and his was a full size and theirs was a kid size. Oh my goodness, that is so cute. I just had neighbors who made like crossbows for their children, which is not at all legal, at all. Not even a little bit. Even when you're rural, that's still you still have to follow the law, and it's no. It'd be cool to have people who actually made looms, and so many old people have spinning wheels here that were made by their partner as a love gift, and I think that is so cute. Because that was a standard. I know it was a thing here for many years, and I think it was quite common elsewhere too, like that you would give betrothal gifts or like gifts that you intended to try to flirt with this person. And spinning wheels are the cute ones, and like they would have like the sticks inside the stays and things like that. But of course, in Norwegian, you also had cod pieces, like knitted warmers for the privates, and I was like, that's a bit personal, don't you think? For someone who never talks about these things, why is this what you choose to use as a gift for your intended? Sorry to just bring that on you.
No, but it brings back memories because my aunt once made a lot of those for New Year for her entire family.
Lore drop. That's fantastic.
And um, I'm going to say a dirty word in Dutch, and only the Dutch-speaking people will know what I'm saying, but she called them lullovertje. It's a play on pullover, but then saucy.
That's pretty fantastic. Oh, puns are so difficult to translate because they often rely on two words being similar and then not being similar at all in the same language. That sometimes in Norway, like translators will get prizes for managing to translate the jokes. Because one thing is to translate the text, but to translate the jokes is like medal for you.
Yeah. I think I talked about this on your Discord before, but the Dutch translation of Lord of the Rings, it just doesn't get it.
The first Norwegian translation too was pretty sad. Made me not want to read it for a long time. The new translation that is out now is really good, but the first one was yeah, it's pretty sad. But yeah, it was like you mentioned that when you read it originally, you notice that Tolkien has such a playful writing style. He's
Yeah.
having, you can tell that this is a man who loves language, and there are some writers where you can really tell that they write because they love language. Pratchett as well, I think, like you can tell that he loves language,
Yeah,
not
his name
just
popped in my head as well.
yeah, like it's not just telling the story, but that he actually loves the act of using language to tell. Like, oh, it's just so good. And that did not translate well, especially the first time. It was just like you just translated the words, but you didn't get any of the joy, any of the playfulness. It was so sad.
I don't know if has been a revised Dutch translation ever since I read the one I read, but it was so boring. Like I got to Two Towers and then gave up, but my mom didn't get past The Hobbit even.
I didn't even get to Rivendell before I gave up the first time. So it was just, but I think one was that the Swedish translation was so bad that it was so bad to the point of getting a lot of media attention from fans who were bilingual that, you know, this is absolutely horrendous. And even Tolkien at the time, in letters to the Swedish translator, was like, why are you taking liberties with my work? That is, you are not the author, please. And then even suggesting Swedish translations. And Tolkien did not speak Swedish, but I mean, he's a linguist, so knows enough to be like, you should have translated like this rather than like this. In a language he doesn't even speak.
Was it also the Swedish edition that had an illustration of Gollum that was so far of what Tolkien wanted Gollum to look like that he rewrote the paragraph of Gollum to specifically say how Gollum should look like?
Yeah. It was bad. But the thing was that because there are so many nerds and geeks who love Tolkien, like they made a movement to be like, we are going to fan translate this if you won't do it for us. And then eventually they got enough momentum that both Sweden and Norway now have a completely passable, completely like nice translation. We even have like a Tolkien scholar, which is pretty amazing. His texts are interesting. I read some of them when I was younger, and it's like, you are really into this. It's really cool. And they would also write satirical stuff like why Sauron is the good guy. And there was arguments like takes care of their pet, like the spider. Takes care of their soldiers. Like
Funniest thing that I recently saw is that in Kenya, Sauron means stinky. So you could read the entire book and be like, Lord Stinky.
I love that.
We have a
There are
map.
so many. Ooh, congratulations.
Oh,
Very good.
yeah.
It looks so comfy too.
I hope it is. It's for my friend for her birthday. So that's why it is so dark in color. I would never do it for myself, but my friend has a very dark aesthetic.
Yes, it is good to try to like think about the person receiving it and not just their own preferences.
Yeah.
We have more, let's see. Apparently one of the German translations of one of the Discworld book has a soup ad put into the middle of the text, which is my favorite translation horror story.
How do you do that?
They put an ad? What? I had never heard of something like that happening before. Like I remember the old like kiosk books, like the soft books, especially if they were in series, would have like this like ad section at the far back where you could like post order, mail order the rest of the books in the series
Hmm.
by the same author. And they were always in color, which was exciting because the rest of the book was just like black and white. But I've never heard of an ad just being in the middle of the book just randomly and not even for the author in question. That is a new one to me.
Soup.
Good soup.
Good soup.
Catball says it looks very squishy, and I have to agree. It has a lot of dimension.
It's very squishy.
Yes.
I dropped one of my needles.
Oh no.
It's the one that I need to use later. So,
Oh well.
I don't have any cats running around that might steal it from me anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say your house is safe from having to pick up such things straight away. Yeah, it's one of the reasons I love cables and lace knit because they add so much dimension to whatever you're knitting, even when it's just a single color. And I really like single color for some reason, so when you can add dimension, it's a lot of fun. But I actually had like, there is this beehive pattern that I found, and I tried to do it in black, and I couldn't because you are supposed to drop your thread and just pass over several stitches and then pick them up later. And on black thread, I was just like, I can't see what I'm doing.
Oh,
I have to do this in a lighter yarn. The curse of the black yarn has finally found me.
It is a curse.
Yeah, it didn't used to be a problem, but I'm noticing that I'm having a poorer night vision than I did when I was younger, and I'm like, rude. I want to knit all the black things.
I'm getting older. That's rude.
I know. I was going to say a moment of silence for the goblin counting.
I'm done with counting.
Oh,
It was only 40 stitches.
that is very nice. Yeah, that's the worst about knitting like sweaters and things, like double checking 250 stitches, and you're like, please be enough.
My husband always wants sweaters, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll knit you a sweater. And then like, cast on 400 stitches. Oh no.
It's why I just started preferring knitting them from top down, because then you finish. You start with fewer stitches, and you also finish with all the yoke straight away, and then it's just straight down for the body of the sweater and the arms. It's just like, okay, now the rest is okay.
And you can like fit it on while working on it. That's very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. Very important detail indeed.
Because my husband is taller than most humans, I would say. And mostly I have to add like at least 10 centimeters to the pattern. And if it's like bottom up, I'm like, oh, I don't know. And if I add the sleeves and the neckline to it and it's not right, I will have to undo all that work.
Oh no! Yeah, that's just, yeah, no. I like top down. It's very nice. It fits my brain well.
Yes, I agree.
Yes. Yeah, I have bought yarn to knit. Spouse wants a cardigan, not a sweater, so I don't think I'm gonna have the courage to steek it. I think we're actually just gonna go back and forth, even though it takes longer. But I still have not brought myself to actually steek something. It seems so scary.
I did it the first time last November. And it was, I can confirm, very scary.
Yeah, I was like, you survived.
I survived.
Yeah.
My project survived.
Still scary.
Still scary. But now that I did it the first time, I was like, oh, but all those patterns I have been avoiding because it's at steeking, now they are available to me.
Yes. Now I can do all the things.
Exactly.
Although I suppose I technically did it once, but it was an accident because it was a sweater that was a little bit small. So I was just like, okay, you are a little bit small, so I'm gonna like make it into a cardigan. But it wasn't intended, so I don't feel like it counts. It was more like we are gonna try to not throw this away, so we're gonna open it up and make it instead. But I don't know. That seems like cheating. Someone comments that they need a button that says "I survived steaking my sweater." Since we are always thinking about merch ideas, maybe that's one for.
That would be another thing that would like clock other knitters, because no one else would know what that means.
Yeah, and only a subset of knitters too, because some people I see many people go like, "What? What is steaking? I don't understand. Why would you cut up your knitting?"
Because I don't want to knit color work in the round. That's in knit flat. That's why.
Or just knit flat in general, because then you have to do all the. Even though I don't mind purl stitches, it does take longer, so then the whole thing takes a lot longer, and it's like, it's already a big project that's gonna take me many months to do.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't go for steaking if it's not color work. Because normal purling I don't mind, but color work, knit flat. My grandmom made so many color work items knit flat, and I'm like, how did you have the patience to do this?
Luxular says they put a link to the soup ad story in the Discord, but it was basically adding a few lines of text like, and now our heroes go to get some nice soup. Why would you change the story like that? The story just keeps getting worse. Or better, but depending on your view. So many wild things happened. And of course, corresponding with authors by post to be like, is this a red herring for this or this? Like, do I have to translate? Now they just have forums where they can just join, like all of them, and just talk to the author all at a time. Like, this is a hint for this in book 3, so you need to not miss it.
Or you have to retcon your own story.
We have a nice mixture of I have never dared to steak and steaking is adrenaline pure, but so much fun when it works. I feel like we're two different sides of the.
Well, I think if steaking still is adrenaline, we're still in the middle of the spectrum. Like, we need someone that is crazy enough to say, I steak everything without batting an eye.
Then you are braver than I.
Braver than most.
Indeed. Hello, Emma. Joining late, but that is always acceptable, even if we are. Oh, goodness, it's almost 8. How does this happen? I don't understand. Time is very confusing.
Well, you only have to talk half of the time. You usually have to talk on your own.
This is true, but it still feels like time moved even faster, and I already think it moves fast when I'm talking. No, okay, have remembered all the triple crochets we were supposed to do. Yes, even though we were talking good.
Very good.
Adrenaline knitted sweater. Maybe that's what the button should say. You have like a double-sided I survived steaking my sweater, and then it's like adrenaline knitted sweater. But you knit the same style that I knit as well. Like you knit, is it called continental when you knit?
Um, I do knit with my yarn in my left hand. However, I do not knit continental. I knit Eastern uncrossed.
Okay.
The leading leg of my stitch is on the back side of my needle. Normally, I think when you're knitting, it's on the front.
Huh. I know
Yeah,
so little knitting lore. I'm so naive in so many ways that I'm like, this is just how I learned to knit, so this is how I knit. They'd be
yeah.
like, what style is it? I'm like, I have no idea. This is how everyone in my family knits.
This is not how I learned to knit, and if my grandmom saw me knitting, she would probably slap my hands and say I'm doing it wrong. um,
No.
but like she taught me how to knit when I was 6, and it was probably English style. But then I was like, no, grandmom, I actually like crochet better. So she taught me that when I was 11, and I think I have been doing crochet only until like 23. But I
Ah.
noticed that I was doing more and more patterns that looked like knitting, and I was like, that's really silly because I know how to knit. But then I was using the movements that you would do for crochet in my knitting, and then it turned
Ah.
out that I started knitting in the Eastern uncrossed way.
Cool.
I didn't know for the longest time that it was called like that, but I think someone in my comment section pointed it out because I was like, yeah, I just knit weird, don't mind me. They're like, well,
Yeah.
actually,
I just like with the looms and the spinning wheels, I just hadn't even thought about it. It's like makes sense when the commenters were pointing it out, but I hadn't even thought about there being other styles. It hadn't really crossed my mind because I hadn't encountered patterns or people who knitted differently. So I was just like, of course that makes sense that such a widely spread craft would have different styles. It just had never crossed my mind until they were like, "Oh, you knit so fast," and I'm like, "Huh? How do you purl like that?" And I'm like, "I, is this not how you purl?"
exactly, yeah. Especially the you knit so fast. I get that comment all the time, like, you have a video every week, you knit so fast. I'm like, no, not really. It's just I just
have
have a
you
very efficient way of purling.
have you seen the people who really knit fast?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There's this one Dutch woman. She's the fastest. I saw one video and I was like, no, how? No, how do you move your hands so fast?
I am very slow compared to them. Like they used to have knitting competitions and they would do more than one stitch. They would do like close to 2 stitches a second and I'm like, how? How do you do that?
Oh, but I saw one that was a French competition, and I think the one that was fastest year after year just had like one of her needles um, wedged between her legs and just working with one needle. And then the
Huh.
yarn, yeah, that was really interesting to see. I don't know what that style is called, but she was the fastest.
I mean, I only think about disabled crafters who like make things like that. Like they have a clamp on their table and they clamp their crochet hook to the thing so that if they only have one hand, they can like crochet like
Yeah.
that. And that would seem like a similar kind of an adaptation that you can use if you have a limited mobility. It's very cool. Did not think that it would be the fastest. It's really interesting.
Well, I think wasn't it Carrie, Carrie Craft Geek, who had a video that said there is no real technique that is actually the fastest. It is just being very good in one technique that makes you the fastest.
Yeah, it's always the thing. Like you're just being really good at whatever your technique is the way to go, no matter what. Yeah. No, Kelly thought they were doing so well with their crochet until they found they missed a stitch in chain two and frogging now.
Aw.
Aw, it's a shame. At least you have some company with the frogging.
Yeah, I'm now on the fourth of my one pair of mittens.
I know, right? Yeah, that's another thing that I'm like I want to edit it out of my videos, all the mistakes and all the frogging because I feel like the video gets so long, but at the same time it's like, yeah, but maybe it encourages people that be like, no, this is this is full of mistakes, it's not a problem. But then when I'm editing I'm like, yeah, but it would be so much more efficient if I just you can have one mistake, maybe two, you can't have five because that disrupts the story or whatever.
But that's like one of my most common comments that I get is like, we're so happy that you show the mistakes because
Mm-hmm.
everyone else just shows, look at me perfectly knitting this perfect thing. And then other
Mm-hmm.
people feel discouraged because they're like, I'm making all these mistakes and I'm not as good as them. But I'm like, no, here is my mistake and I'm on the internet as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Do
I
it.
always show at least one or two mistakes in it, but I think at like point 3 or 5, I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna take out at least one of them because I feel like it's like too many now. But yeah, I get the same comments that like it's nice to show people not knowing what they're doing and like doing things out of their comfort zone and like actually learning a thing, not just being good at a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, more people frogging. Oh no. At least there is company, even if we are getting towards the closing time. Second time making this particular sweater. I got 4 balls of yarn in and had to frog because it was too big. Oh no! Oh, that is so discouraging. How do you deal with it when you need to frog things? Because that is like, I will always, if I can, if there is enough time, I will always frog in the evening so that when I come the next morning, I can start fresh. I don't have to start by frogging.
Yeah, I think I kind of do that as well, but mostly because after frogging, I have to have a moment to be heartbroken about it and then again start
Yeah,
fresh.
exactly. Yeah. It's just usually like if I make the mistake because I'm tired late at night, I'm still gonna try to like keep myself up just to finish the frogging, and then I can go to bed or like finish the work there or whatever. But sometimes it's late because often I make mistakes because I'm tired. Gee. But
Who
yeah,
would have thunk?
I know, right? Very surprising. But yeah, it's always more encouraging to like be able to start fresh the next day rather than having to start with frogging and then do the thing. It's like, yeah, but I kind of yeah.
You're demotivated for the rest of the day if you have to start with frogging.
Yeah, it's not the best feeling. And then when I'm done frogging, sometimes also I'm like, I'm done with you for now, Mr. Project. Go be shameful over there.
Yeah, that's what I say. I need to have a little bit of time to be heartbroken about it. Like, I don't want to talk to you right now.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, we have more people following the same. Like they frogged it in the evening and went to bed as soon as they got everything back on my needles, and then knit a few rows. But yeah, it's a time-honored technique for the frogging business.
Frogging business.
But I think, so that we don't keep Jente longer than I actually promised to keep her, that we shall start to wrap up for the day. I don't have any chance of finishing even one row. I'm this long to the middle of one and only row I've been working on this entire evening. So there is that.
Oh, you were the one that wanted to make a big shawl.
It shall be a very good squishy shawl when it is done. Maybe next year. No, I do think it'll be done this year, since we just started. But yeah, it shall be very good and very squishy. And if chat hadn't convinced me to do a lace edging, it would already be done. Aha.
So we have to blame the chat.
But it's gonna be glorious with the lace edging, so I mean,
Yeah,
who can blame them anyway?
I think it will be glorious indeed.
I hope so. But it will be a while before I start a new one, I hope. Triangular shawls are so easy though. I love them because they are so, like, you just increase in these 4 spots and then you just go. Sweaters you have to think, but I should start the 2 sweater projects that I have so I can make the one for spouse that I have promised for 2 years now. I am very slow. Anyway, we shall wrap it up for now, but maybe we will see people next week, providing health and everything. So, as awkward as we usually are, thank you everyone for joining and good night.
Good night.
Whoops. There. How do you feel that went? Did you have a good time?
No, Alex just